This can go either way, honestly, but I think I'm ready. Lunar eclipses are really about closing doors, and they bring endings. They're culminations. It's the nature of the thing. I get it. And I fully expect some viewers to leave once they know this about me. I respect that. I understand. In 1986, the South Node was also in Scorpio, and I was a little kid. I was a child clown. Yes, you heard that right. I was a child clown. I was a roly-poly child clown. Oh, my mother, my dear mother, talented woman, sewed me this tiny chubby costume. She got me a pillow to stuff inside the belly so I could be extra round. I can't. So bad. She painted my face and she held my hand through the packed mall of people. 86, 86 was prime time for the mall action. And she walked me through the mall. People were pointing, people were staring, people were confused. To have a professional photographer who was likely a very concerned individual take these photographs of me as a clown. If it was just gonna end there and my strange clown phase ended as the South Node eclipses left Scorpio later in 1986, if these photos were somehow lost to the dusty old photo albums that we used to have, it wouldn't be so painful for me, because the extended embarrassment of this clown phase was provided by my grandma, rest her soul, who chose to have these insane photos hanging in plain sight in her house until the year 2020. That's 34 years of people looking at this nonsense. Now, you can tell that this has been in the light because it's faded. Sad Clown was the one that was out for everyone to see, and yes, I did stencil these creepy clown drawings around it. Okay. I know, it's so creepy, right? Yeah. I'm sure some people are just like, I came here for a lunar eclipse information and you're talking about being a clown. Okay, but anyway, I had two wigs. I had a white wig and a black wig. I had, in case I was feeling a little darker, I would wear the black wig. So there it is. There, it's out. And I am not ashamed of that. I mean, it's really weird that I just shared that on the internet, but I am at the point in my life where I can proudly reclaim my former clownhood. The court jester was the only one that could tell the king the truth and still live to see another day. And the fool in the tarot, if you think about it, is the one who has enough optimism to undertake a journey off a cliff and still be cool with it. So I was a clown child, and a part of me always will be. And now that I told you that, I feel more free. Yeah, that feels better. I think. It's still very weird. What's the point of me doing this in a Scorpio eclipse video? The Scorpio energy is about vulnerability, okay? And this is a Scorpio eclipse. I wanted to be vulnerable with you, and I hope that my vulnerability here, sharing that very odd thing with you, can inspire you to release some of the fear of judgment that judgment can have over your life, to control you, to remove the power that anyone's opinion can have over you, and be free to be yourself, be as different as you choose, and to claim all those things about yourself. So now, because you are still watching this, and I know because I'm talking to you right now, despite my clownish roots, you still hung in there with me. I want to really talk about this lunar eclipse and get into the good stuff with you. Okay, so cards on the table. A lunar eclipse can only happen at a full moon. This is going to be a full moon in Scorpio. And moon in Scorpio is technically in exile in the ancient astrology dignity structure. The dignity structure describes how planets work in different signs. Some flow really well, some are a little more challenged. All right, so it's critical to understand. The moon is in exile in Scorpio, and it's being occulted, it's being covered, it's being darkened, it's brightness, okay? So one facet of the Scorpio archetype, it represents the end, the underworld, the process of decay, of death, of rebirth, of reconfiguration. It's an ultimate transformation. Scorpio has to do that through emotional experiences. It's a tough one. The emotional potential for Scorpio is just so raw. And let's face it, for a lot of people, it's very uncomfortable. Now, think about it. To go through a transformation, a true one, point A to point Z, to change a fuzzy caterpillar worm into a butterfly, to change manure into foxgloves. This is a messy business, but it's a critical thing. The conceptual idea of the moon. The moon wants to reflect light and life. It represents the archetype of the mother figure, and the mother figure's essence in general is to nurture and to provide. It's to sew a clown costume because she knows deep down at the core, clown blood flows through the veins of her child. It's an act of love, okay? That's the moon. I love you, Mom. I forgive you for letting me be a clown. On the other side of that exile of the moon in Scorpio, we have the exaltation of the moon in Taurus. That's where the sun is coming from. And this is the point of living in Taurus, is to grow. That's the concept, that's the idea. And the Scorpio flip side is that's where growing things go, to be reconfigured when they're done growing, to be transmuted at a molecular level, to be the feed, to be freed to be feed and fertilize future gardens. Okay, that's Scorpio energy. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable, I understand. It's not the only thing about Scorpio. It's not all dark and stuff and sexy, all that, but it is pretty dark and sexy. But anyway, I gotta stay focused here, seriously. It is important to see the boundaries of the sign in order to understand the nuance of what we're talking about here. So here's the thing about Scorpio. It represents deep truth that can only be found through transformational emotional experiences, okay? One thing that everyone should know about Scorpio energy is that it hates small talk. If you have a lot of Scorpio in your chart, you know what I'm talking about. It's either let's go deep or just go away. And wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, we all have a Scorpio section of our life, that's probably a no BS zone. So with this full moon and final Scorpio South Node eclipse happening, it's closing up the past 18 months of eclipse energy. This is the illumination moment. This is the looking glass where you should be facing yourself in a very real way right now. Yeah, so this final eclipse is kind of a big deal because the torches of the eclipses are being handed off. So Scorpio has been in charge of the eclipse of the South Node, which is very closure-like. And we're going to be leaving this land of mystery and secrets and power and emotional transformation. And the full moon getting this eclipse is a little bit pissed off looking, a little bit, it's a bit of Scorpio scorned. And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. It's better to just get out of the way if you're not going to get real. And what's making me say this about the eclipse? Well, it's not a total eclipse. It's a prenumeral lunar eclipse. The moon's going to be slightly dimmer, and halfway through the eclipse, the moon's surface can look a little darker, and it'll be a brownish color. So it's like the Scorpio's like, I'm not even giving you a full total eclipse. You can have this and deal with it. So it could be visible by the naked eye for people that live in Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. So if you're there, you can see if I'm right. See if the full moon turns brown. Another thing about this eclipse, it's happening within a Mercury retrograde, and it's very close to that stationing that we had of the modern ruler of Pluto just happened. So Pluto is slowed all the way down to seemingly like a stop before it starts turning retrograde to go back into Capricorn for a brief period. So this is a deep indicator that something significant is going on here. With Pluto, as usual, we probably won't know until further down the line when the dates will become significant that we can pinpoint that thing happened. You can find some things right now even without worrying to wait too long. Now let's look at this chart. Tell me what you see. What do you notice? When I look at it, I notice that the moon and the south node are solo. It's moon and node against all others. It's us against the world kind of thing. It's bold. It's standing firm. It's not giving away to darkening completely her light. This is an eagle looking straight into the sun. This is a phoenix saying, you have no power over me. I'm going to rise and I'm going to rise again, no matter what anybody says or does. This is an energy of not putting up with the same old transparent crap that we're being fed in our lives and in the world at large. There's a waking up moment. Secrets are being revealed. I love to look at the Sabian symbols of these degrees, and the moon is coming in at 14 degrees 57, which is Sabian symbol Scorpio 15. That is children playing around 5 mounds of sand. While Rudyard says this is a cryptic symbol, I will agree with him there. It's a 5-pointed star reference. 5 mounds of sand, a pentagram. So he says the number 5 symbolizes mind in its most creative and penetrating aspect. The number 4 refers to the life processes operating at present within the Earth's biosphere. Our Western civilization has realized only the lower level of this vibration 5. Our mind is contaminated by compulsive instincts and emotional involvement. I think we can see that in the world. What do you think, huh? So some individuals, however, he goes on to say, are born with a special potential for development of higher creative mind. In most cases, they're still playing around with their usual capacity. They're in the kindergarten stage of this higher mind development. This is a symbol foreshadowing future-oriented growth. Let's put these pieces together. We've got a moon on its own with the south node. That's like the drain in the bathtub that's leaky and you can never really fill it up. There's always something draining out of the south node. It's something to be released. It's something to be let go of. And we have this tender moon in Scorpio that's being ruled by Mars in Cancer. So there's this reception of moon and Mars. There's just a lot of feelings. And they're empowering each other. So on the other side, we can look at where the sun is. Sun is at Taurus 1457. That's Sabian symbol Taurus 15. This is a head covered with a silk hat, muffled against the cold, as a man braves the storm. The keynote for this one, according to Rudyard, is it's the courage needed to meet the crises precipitated by social ambition. The man with the silk hat is somebody with a lot of success, a lot of money, wealth transfer, and it might be time for that to be illuminated, that there's a storm that's going to be attacking that social status, if we can be brave enough. This could also be coming through in your life as a change in the story of power, of empowering yourself. And this storm is met with 5 mounds of sand, the pentagram, the higher expression of standing in power, standing in emotional power, standing in strength. There's a willingness to see the crisis as a place to plant seeds for a higher kind of consciousness. Okay, so here's what I want to say about it. We're being asked to go back to a childlike state, to play around the mounds of sand, to see that there's beauty, there's levity, and that's where you're going to rise up. On the other side, there's old structures of power, there's things that are needing to be recalibrated, there's an imbalance and a storm. The crisis will come, and the crisis will be averted in our lives spiritually by leaning in to the truth that's inside of us, the truth that's inside of you. So this process is one of character building. Not always the most fun, but yeah, it's part of life. Very soon after the eclipse, the sun is going to be making its annual meetup with Uranus. This will be a URANUS CAZIMI moment. Uranus is in Taurus, and I had this flash of an image of Uranus and Taurus as the character of Jack Sparrow in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, okay? So forget all the other ones that got kind of strange, but the first one, a little bit eccentric, very unpredictable, a little rascally, and this character has some ulterior motives that are really confusing. It's easy to be diverted because they're sort of weird and like, wait, what are you doing? What are we doing now? And it actually always works out for the best in the end. So then I looked up the symbol for the URANUS CAZIMI, and it's Taurus 19, a new continent rising out of the ocean. So the continent rising out of the ocean is the surge of new potentiality after the crisis. Now put those 3 things together. We have the mounds of sand, children playing. We have the storm and the crisis. And then we have this Uranus coming right afterwards in a CAZIMI, and that's a new continent, sand mounds, rising out of the ocean, out of the storm. It seems like it makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you? I'll tell you what Rudyard says really quickly. He says, the symbol need hardly be commented upon. When the mind has emptied and the light has been called upon to purify the consciousness freed from its attachment and contaminations, a new release of life can emerge out of the infinite ocean of potentiality. The virgin space, what will it be used for? Oh, sometimes it's just too much. It's too beautiful. It's too beautiful. I believe something spontaneous is going to happen. It could possibly be a new leadership starting to come through. That'll be an uphill battle, to be sure, because this new leadership will be fighting against all the power, all the money, and the people that want to keep things the same. And this can also come through in your life, something strange, something different that, you might have to fight for it a little bit, but just think of the potential that it has of a virgin space, new place to grow, to learn, to act things out, to play, to be a child in that way. Beginner's mind, to be ignorant, Socrates style, Bill and Ted style.
Dust. Wind. Dude.
I think you're an open-hearted person and an open-minded person, obviously. And we need to tune into that intuition and keep making it cleaner and clearer, removing the instinct from it, removing fear from it. And we need to shut out the manipulation, the noise, to reclaim our sovereignty. Because we have a power when we do that. We have a lot of power in our life when we do that. There's an uprising happening all over the world. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of control being inflicted on us based on fear, based on convenience. And there's this turning of the screw. And if we're not careful, to be really careful to watch this, we won't see what's true. We've got the destabilization of the banks. 3 have just collapsed recently. They're the equivalent of all the banks that failed in 2008. There were a couple hundred. That's significant, right? The BRICS nations, they're all growing together in an alliance, and they have a new currency they're coming out with, de-dollarization. That's going to be a big deal. Inflation's going to be crazy. And we've got this weird AI thing going on. Truthfully, there's some challenging things coming our way. And I know sometimes I'm a little bit silly. I have clown blood, after all, flowing in my veins. It's quite thick. But remaining hold of levity, no matter how hard things get, is precious, especially in the times of trouble. This is a true victory. Not losing our love for our fellow humans, not losing our connection to the spirit, our light, our laughter, whatever your connection is to the spirit, whatever brings you light, whatever brings you laughter and happiness that can't be let go of, because then life is just too much. It's too hard. Everything comes and goes, good things and bad things, but one thing will remain the same. I like you just the way you are. And since you're still here with me, I like you even more. I'll talk to you next time.